Welcome to the Transitional Changes Mission Podcast Show with your host, King Summers.
And your host, Queen Summers.
We welcome you back. We appreciate you listening, taking the time out to tune us in every week and every Wednesday and Sunday. On this exciting show, we're talking about that current event of homeschooling, man. Teachers trying to fight back, trying to say what they worth. They're not wanting to go back to work, to go teach. And the parents and the state is getting upset. Where do we go from here? What is your process through this whole homeschooling since the beginning to now?
Remember, the last show we was talking about was homeschooling part 1. That was homeschooling, going back to work, and single mothers. And it has become increasingly apparent to me as I travel throughout the internet that homeschooling is no longer an United States phenomena. Homeschooling is gradually but steadily spreading across the world. The internet is playing a large role in bringing the world closer together. Nearly 3 million American women have left the labor force over the past year in a coronavirus-induced exodus that reflects persistent pay inequality, undervalued work, and antiquated notions of caregiving. Before the pandemic, women consisted more than 50% of the country's workforce, underlining their importance to the economy. But that number has dropped sharply as many women, particularly mothers of young children, have been furloughed or laid off. Many others have had to choose between showing up at frontline jobs or caring for their children who, with daycare centers closed and school underway remotely, would otherwise be left without supervision.
And just like Queen Summer said on the previous show, I was talking about the two difference in entities. We have a young princess and young prince that is trying to get their crown through education to get out here in the world and be the leader of the human race. But for some, the minority from the statistics is showing that blacks, Latinos, low-income areas are being hit the worst with the homeschooling pandemic and the pandemic.
And as parents in foreign countries find web pages about homeschooling and learn about its invaluable benefits for their children, they want to homeschool too. However, they check their laws and find out it's not legal. They do not know where to start, so they turn to that beacon of homeschool liberty, the United States. And tune in to the Transitional Changes Mission Podcast Show to get more information about the ins and outs, tips, advice, and everything on how to successfully homeschool their children. So if this is your first time listening to our podcast show, I would like for you to go back to homeschooling part 1. Listen to the whole thing as a whole so that it could bring you up to date. And also, if you like our show, please follow us, share us, like us, love us. We are very appreciative at Transitional Changes Mission.
Yes, we are. So, in the previous shows of changes, technology, we laid up series to add up to actually the current event. We are trying to put the puzzle together to make sense. We don't know where the pandemic came, but we do know that it changed everything, and we are in a process of changing. With that, do we have the knowledge to know that some will be left behind? Can we embrace leaving our youth behind? And that's what seems the problem right now, because education is a huge milestone in a human life. No matter where you are in the world, somewhere you need to know how to add, you need to know how to speak your language, all kind of things that is needed in life that adds up from everything that you learn from high school, from elementary. We are in this process of change. That's something that we all agree to. But what we ain't agreeing to, it seems that is a division among the people. Some people, I feel that, not to say set in stone, but what I feel a little bit, that some people is stuck on trying to return to normal. Like Queen Summer said, what is being normal from the past tense of how society has been in a global wave? One thing that we know for sure, with it being Black History Month and here in the nation in Canada, is that African Americans now is having the opportunity to speak up. And like I said in other previous shows that I try to walk around with, is believe in yourself. That will lead to you to know your worth.
That's right.
And this worth that is among the teachers, I do support them because I see the opportunity. And before this, it was a lot of things that they was already complaining about, that old system was not working. It was actually getting worse. Some people has forgotten before the pandemic, we had a pandemic of kids carrying guns to school. It was a nationwide, worldwide thing that young people was getting bullied. We was having a bully issues. We was having teachers, the whole school getting shot up. I don't know if parents have forgotten the horror of sending your child to school. And so now we had the pandemic. I feel that people has not fully understood the process yet of this change. I give respect to those. But when you have a teacher that is afraid to go back in the building due to a pandemic, and I say this towards any job that is going on, I've been saying this from day one. If a job asks you to do overtime, you get extra pay. If they ask you to do extra curriculum things that's outside the skill that you was hired for, most jobs offer incentive to compensate you for what you was doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing that I feel that the teachers are now having the opportunity to demand what they are worth. Some might say, why? It's the same reason why a police officer might ask for a raise within their job duties or what they was doing. As I remember, police was actually demanding more pay before the pandemic.
We read the emails, listened to the messages, and determined that since the majority is thinking it, let's talk about it. Most homeschoolers will tell you that they spend more of their time outside their homes than inside, becoming fully immersed in the people, places, and things of their community. With social distancing, all of us are separated from those community networks, mentors, classes, friends, local libraries, museums, and so on. Outdoor physical activity is an effective stress reliever for both children and parents. Try it. It really helps. A few weeks ago, we received an urgent message from a family in Brazil that's asking for their anonymous and asking us to help them to legalize homeschooling there. The family has been quietly homeschooling for the last 10 years in Brazil, and they also said that many other people are homeschooling in Brazil, but they are underground since it is not officially recognized. They explained the laws in Brazil are slightly less harsh than the ones in Germany, considering school life. The peaceful nature of Brazilians does not preclude the possibility of Brazilian homeschool pioneers suffering the same constraints as their German counterparts. With this in mind, they were asking for international help to bring acceptance of homeschooling to Brazil and that it would serve as a model of peaceful change. We may be able to surprise everyone with the orderly and peaceful manner that this can be accomplished. We will continue to stand in unity with Brazil and hope that one day they will have the right to be able to teach their children in home. And in a sense, the exposure to homeschooling may be a blessing in disguise for many families because they are discovering that homeschooling can work better for them than government schooling. Before worrying that you or your child are underperforming, remember that maintaining a loving, close, emotional connection with kids during this time is number one by far. They will learn so much: resilience, love, how to deal with difficulty. This will teach them far more about how to be in the world than trying to cobble together lessons on and of the world.
In transitional changes, have heard the complaints, have seen different scenarios and stories of a single mother raising a teenager. There is a difference from me and Queen Summers doing homeschooling with a pre-K or a toddler than doing homeschooling with a teenager. Teenagers got all kind of hormones going on. They got everything. They think they know everything.
Got parents with children 8, 9 years old. I mean, trying to work a full-time job. It's rough. So we asked you guys in part 1, what did parents and children find stressful about homeschooling during the fall of 2020? Most of the answers we compiled together and found out that stress experienced by families fell in 2 categories: spillover and crossover. Spillover is when stress in one domain, like work, impacts one's ability to perform in another, like caregiving. Crossover refers to how stress experienced by one family member leads to increased stress by another family member. For example, a child frustrated because they cannot interact with their friends may be moody or act out, and that can cause stress for the parent. Parents and children were dealing with many stresses during the fall. Parents reported being worried about finances, job security, possible infection, and trying to balance both work and children's educational needs. And the children also experienced stress with the loss of their usual extracurricular activities, adjusting to online learning, and the loss of contact with peers and friends.
Yes, it is hard It's very hard for a parent to be 1 year in going through the systematic ways of how it was set up to work, kids at school, come home, eat dinner, go back to work, weekends and everything else. But we must remember that it was a pandemic that has changed everything. That's one of the reasons why it's like an extra curriculum for a job to ask somebody to do a job within this pandemic going on. With the different variants, with the vaccine, it is hard for an individual to make a decision to either decide to keep working to earn a living or just keep living. And that is a consideration that I show much respect to anybody.
Much respect.
Yes, we do. I even suggested a memorial for the ones that has fallen through this pandemic. They went back to respect the community, saying that they need them in the school to be a teacher. And I have heard the sorrows and the grievance of that teacher falling. So I was just laying out reasons why I feel like teachers are saying what they are worth.
Mm-hmm.
You got to also think about some teachers are actually raising kids.
Mm-hmm.
That has 2-parent or a single parent. While you was at work for 8 hours, your child was at that school doing all kind of things with their peers and everything. But here goes the pandemic. They're mad and you are mad. And 2 negatives don't equal up to a positive. So one of you have to be the parent that teacher was being a parent for at that time. So I look at that as a great opportunity, like Queen Summers was saying, to build a relationship among your kids and get the reward of graduating them or knowing that you have taught them how to read or anything of education. But it ain't like that what I see that teachers ain't fighting for a reason. And that's why I asked the community to take a look into that. I asked the community to support any delivery service, support your police, support your firemen, these doctors, these nurses. Companies, I feel that I really have to draw a line in to say that I'm not talking about the small businesses out here. Some of them can't afford to pay $15 an hour. But I'm talking about these huge corporations like Walmart, any that has made revenues or profits during this pandemic. They should return some of that profit back to their employees. And there is some that have done that in the past during this pandemic. And it's the same with the teachers, with the police, with anybody that is putting themselves at risk. They need to know what they are worth, and the people that got it, they can share the wealth, should respect that.
That's right. And so I wanted to know, what could schools do to help support the children and their families and their parents in homeschooling?
Well, we got that coming back up in the solution as soon as we come back from this break. I know the Queen got some questions for you, and I got some things to leave you on to let you meditate about this first half for the moment, and we'll come back at you in a minute.
So thank you for tuning in and listening to our show this evening. This is your host, Queen Summers.
With your host, King Summers. Now, if you have any add-on opinions to this conversation, please write us at tcmissionspeak@gmail.com, and we will appreciate that. So we'll be back with you in one hot second. Get everything you need. Come on back and share us and follow us and love us. Thank you.